Beyond the Clockwork, why the death of teleology broke us. If you spend any time watching popular science explainers on YouTube, think of the aggressive, fast-talking style of Dave Farina, Professor Dave Explains, you'll hear a very similar refrain whenever someone tries to talk about metaphysics, values, or purpose. YouTube, the textbook materialist critique goes something like this. Science deals with facts, philosophy, and ethics deal with human opinions. You can't derive an ought from an is. The universe is a cold, indifferent collection of matter and energy, and trying to make ethics the foundation of reality is just a category mistake, wishful thinking, or outright quantum woo. Sorry, my cat's trying to get my wire. Let's look at how a channel like Professor Dave Explains would break down that exact position, and then let's systematically take down those critiques. The condescension. Are we seriously doing this? We have actual astrophysics, molecular biology, and thermodynamics explaining how the universe works. And people are still trying to resurrect medieval teleology? The is-ought guillotine. He would immediately slam down David Hume's argument. You cannot look at a star exploding or a strand of DNA replicating and extract a moral commandment. Nature doesn't care about fairness. The evolutionary reduction, he would argue, that morality is just a biological adaptation, a mechanism born out of primitive game theory to keep social animals from tearing each other apart. Elevating a survival trait of hairless apes to the basis of existence would be labeled as profound anthropomorphic narcissism. It sounds tidy, it sounds scientific, but it completely collapses under philosophical scrutiny. Let's dismantle it by point by point. Part 2. Taking down the materialist critique. The flaw in the evolutionary origin of morality. The materialist argument relies heavily on evolutionary psychology, empathy, and reciprocity, evolved because they helped groups survive. The counter-argument. If Darwinian evolution were truly foundational, the foundational source of our deepest ethical intuitions, empathy and a sense of fairness would be functionally uniform across the species. Much like our physical organs and physiological stress responses, instead we observe the exact opposite. Human beings possess wildly different opinions on ethical foundations, and some societies or individuals operate with an extreme deficit of empathy or reciprocity entirely. If biology dictated morality as a hardwired survival script, moral nihilism, radical ethical egoism, or complete moral blindness wouldn't just be philosophical positions. They would be biological impossibilities. The fact that humans can radically critique, transcend, and even willingly sacrifice their biological survival for abstract, unproven concepts of justice proves that ethics operates on a plane distinct from mere genetic replication. 2. The dogma of teleology isn't science. Materialists love to dismiss teleology, the idea that things have an intrinsic purpose, direction, or meaning, by declaring that modern science stripped it out of physics. The counter-argument. Just because the consensus of modern mechanistic science assumes non-teleology as a methodological tool does not mean teleology has been ontologically disproven. Science works by bracketing purpose out of equations to measure quantitative data more easily. To turn around and claim that because your measuring tools only register dead matter, therefore only dead matter exists, is a classic case of the drunk looking under a lamppost because the light is better there. Sorry, 1 second. Dang, where's that? There it is. Fuck. Shut up. Shut up. Oh my gosh. Yeah, dismissing teleology as unscientific is an operational bias, not an absolute metaphysical truth. 3, deriving reality from moral reservations, not preferences. The final pivot of this materialist is to claim that building reality out of ethics is just projecting moral preferences onto a silent universe. The ultimate subjective bias. The counterargument. This fundamentally misconstrues the nature of deep ethical reality. We aren't deriving existence from cozy, comforting moral preferences, what we wish were true. I agree with that. I think he agrees with that too. Hopefully. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think we're close enough morally and ethically that, we can agree on that. I think. Maybe. I don't know. Rather, we derive structural depth from reality from the conflicting of moral reservations. The undeniable agonizing friction of conscience, moral duty, and the absolute demand of the other that hits us from outside our own ego. When you experience a profound moral obligation that overrides your survival instincts, your comfort, and your biological imperatives, you are encountering a force more real and unyielding than physical rock. It is the friction of these moral boundaries that structures human reality from the inside out. I would also like to add an addendum to my script. When people like Professor Dave explains, or Dave Farina, strip teleology from reality, they are actively and intentionally creating a poison, the illusion and lived experience of passive nihilism, then blame people for feeling sick when they take it from them and they ingest it. Yeah. It's really morally and ethically gross, as well as what reality fascists like Dave do. So next time someone tells you that ethics is just a byproduct of carbon-based brain chemistry, remember, the very fact that we can stand in judgment of reality, feel the crushing weight of moral duty, and disagree fundamentally on what is right proves that consciousness and value aren't just late-stage accidents. They might just be what reality looks like when it finally wakes